According to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, there are approximately 90,000 missing persons in the United States at any given time. With the advancement of modern detective work and advanced scientific methods, such as genealogy testing, the vast majority of missing person cases end up being solved today. Even so, sometimes investigators just aren't able to provide enough conclusive evidence to put the pieces together on some of these cases, and they go unsolved. There have been some devastating, very suspicious missing persons cases in recent times that definitely fall into this category. Throughout history, though, all around the world, certain missing person cases have left investigators and families struggling to find answers. When there is little evidence to no evidence and no eyewitnesses, missing persons cases tragically end up being closed and unsolved. Come with us as we walk through some of the most puzzling and tragic missing persons cases throughout history all around the globe. Ten eerie last words of people who then vanished without a trace. Number 10. They're after me, more than one. Mike McLean spent the evening of April 20th, 2019 at the Tropical Lounge nightclub in Nashua, New Hampshire. The 29-year-old resident of nearby Manchester was at the club with friends and by all accounts had no reason to abandon his life. That night, a dispute occurred between two women at the club. They stepped outside, at which point the situation escalated. A crowd formed. Mike, who knew one of the women, broke the fight up, but the police had been called. They dispersed the onlookers, and was said at this point that Mike's friend lost track of him. A bit before 2 a.m. the next morning, Mike called his boss and said, "They're after me, more than one." This ominous statement prompted her to call him back, but there was no answer. Mike hasn't been seen since that night. Mike's family knew something was amiss when he didn't return calls on Easter or call his sister on her birthday. It is believed that he left the nightclub on foot. His phone was last pinged at a McDonald's a few blocks down the street from the Tropical Lounge at around the time he called his boss, but there are a few other clues for investigators to go on. His credit cards have shown no activity, and he hasn't posted anything on social media. He remains missing as of this writing. Number 9. I'm putting dinner on. Will Searson, 58 years old, was a longtime employee at Six Flags Magic Mountain and enjoyed watching sports, collecting Coca-Cola bottles, and cooking. He spent the afternoon of January 26, 2017, at his home in Santa Clarita, California, watching golf on TV with his nephew. After the nephew left, Will began to make dinner. At around 4:30 p.m., his wife Linda called him and Will said, "I'm putting dinner on." When she called again at roughly 5 p.m., Will was in a good mood and said the chicken was cooked. However, when Linda arrived home at 6 p.m., Will was nowhere to be found. Dinner was cooked, the oven was turned off, and Will's coat and keys and wallet were all present. Nothing had been taken from the wallet. The family's dog was at home, and Will's truck was parked outside. A few cryptic clues would emerge. In February 2017, it was revealed that some of Will's blood had been found in the house. Surveillance footage from a neighbor's house showed that a white SUV backed into Will's garage a bit after 5. It left only a few minutes later. Police stated that this vehicle belonged to a family member. Neither of these leads panned out. In May 2017, detectives named Will's nephew a person of interest. However, he cooperated with investigators and no arrests were made. In December of 2018, a human skull was found not far from Valencia, Will's neighborhood. The skull has not been linked with Will, though, and may very well be unrelated. Will's fate is still unknown. Number 8. I'm scared. Never mind. June 21st, 2013 was a busy day for Brooklyn Farthing of Madison County, Kentucky. The 18-year-old and her younger sister Paige took their driver's license test that day. Afterward, they attended their grandfather's 70th birthday party. That evening, Brooklyn, Paige, and a cousin went to a second birthday party. This one held out in a field. Paige and Brooklyn's cousin decided to leave the party early on. This was fine with Brooklyn, who had made plans to sleep over at a home of a friend who was also at the party. Plans changed, however, when Brooklyn's friend decided she wanted to spend the night at a boy's house. The two argued and the friend left. Towards the end of the party, Brooklyn was seen leaving with two young men. One of the men was dropped off and the other man took Brooklyn to his house in Barrera. It was from here at around 4 a.m. on June 22nd that Brooklyn called Paige and asked if their cousin could come pick her up. However, the cousin had had too many drinks and was in no condition to drive. Brooklyn didn't want her mother to have to come get her, so she called her ex-boyfriend, who worked third shift. He agreed to give her a ride home when he got off work. It was at this point that the man who'd brought Brooklyn to the house left. Before long, Brooklyn's ex-boyfriend received several texts from her. "Can you hurry? Please hurry." And then, "I'm scared." However, another text came in telling the ex to never mind, and that Brooklyn was going to a party in neighboring Rockcastle County, the edge of which Barra is near. He asked who she was going with, but there was no response. Brooklyn hasn't been heard from since. The owners of the house later returned to find it on fire, and firefighters would find some of Brooklyn's belongings still inside. The man speculated that the fire could have been started by a cigarette she was smoking when he left. He said he left her there because he was friends with her ex-boyfriend and did not feel comfortable being there when he arrived. He also confirmed that Brooklyn had spoken of a party in Rockcastle County. Brooklyn's whereabouts remain unknown, and no arrests have been made in the case. Number 7. I'll call you back. Marion Barter, a primary school teacher in Australia's Gold Coast, lived a seemingly normal, happy life. Things changed, however, when her third marriage ended in the mid-1990s. A few years later, in 1997, Marion abruptly sold her home and went on a trip to England. Her family received no further word from her until July 31st, when a message from Marion appeared on the answer machine of her daughter, Sally Layden. Marion later called again from a payphone. Marion said she was in Tunbridge Wells, Kent, and was having tea and scones with some old women, and that she was having a good time. The conversation played out in several chunks, as Marion had to add money to the phone. Finally, Marion ran out of coins, and the phone call had to end. Her last words to Sally were, "I'll call you back." Marion, age 51 years old at the time, has not been seen or heard from since. Sally believes her mother truly was in England, due to the delay effect on the calls. The case became stranger in October 1997, however, when thousands of dollars were withdrawn from Marion's bank account. Sally learned from a bank worker that the money was withdrawn in Byron Bay, New South Wales. Police in Byron Bay never found any sign of Marion. Marion remains unaccounted for. Number 6. Can you send me a picture of my son in the movies? At 9:30 p.m. on July 13th, 2019, Erica Gayton of El Paso, Texas, sent a text message to the father of her 7-year-old son. Can you send me a picture of my son in the movies? Erica, who was 29, was attending a concert at the El Paso County Coliseum, so this request didn't seem too strange. What is strange, if not outright unacceptable to Erica's family and friends, is the notation that she would have just abandoned her son. Erica was at the concert with a date, her attendance confirmed by a social media posts. According to the date, after the concert had ended, she was waiting for an Uber to pick her up. The date left at this point. It is worth noting at the time of her disappearance, Erica was facing criminal charges both for credit card abuse and criminal mischief. Her next court date was July 26th. However, El Paso detectives do not believe this is why she vanished. They do, however, consider her disappearance suspicious and have asked anyone with any information to come forward. Number 5. I love you, Pop. Chase Allen Lackey, age 25, was a member of a recreational softball league. On June 30th, 2017, he played a game watched by his father, Craig. Craig will never forget Chase's last words to him that day. I love you, Pop. The next day, Chase was seen walking his dog outside his Houston area apartment. Neither he nor his dog have been seen since. Nothing was stolen from Chase's apartment and his truck remained untouched. Although investigators characterized Chase as living a normal life, foul play is suspected in his disappearance. Few details have been publicly released, but apparently some of Chase's friends have been involved in legal doings. However, no arrests have been made in the case, and 2 years on, both Chase and his dog remain missing. Number 4. I just want to talk while I have the chance. Matthew Weaver moved from his parents' home in Simi Valley, California, to his own apartment in Granada Hills, Los Angeles, in the summer of 2018. Things were looking good for the 21-year-old power line worker, and he had plans to travel the world. These aspirations were seemingly not meant to be. On August 9th, Matthew told his father that he was going out with a new female acquaintance. Matthew picked her up at around 9:30 p.m. and dropped her off during the early hours of August 10th. During this time, they reportedly had a private talk. Matthew then drove to Topanga, an area in the Santa Monica Mountains. Near sunrise, he posted a Snapchat picture of a scenic view and is believed to have entered a hiking trail. A few hours later, Matthew's female friend received some strange text messages. They read, like some crazy is going on, and I just want to talk while I have the chance. There was no further communication from Matthew. Matthew's last known location, according to Snapchat and cell phone records, was near Roseas Outlook at 1:30 a.m. on August 11th. Several hikers in the area called 911 after hearing cries for help. At around that time, California Highway Patrol officers reportedly also heard screams and possibly someone yelling, "He's got a gun." Matthew's car was found near a hiking trail, but the keys weren't located until January 2019, when hikers found them a mere 25 feet from where the car had been. That same month, high-resolution drone photos of the area enabled Matthew's family to find a baseball cap and a torn t-shirt which they belonged to Matthew. Despite these strange clues, Matthew remains missing to this day. Number 3. Don't ever say goodbye. During the summer of 2013, Candace Lahomcourt of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, celebrated her daughter's first birthday. Among those in attendance was Candace's older sister, 25-year-old Shelley Denny. Not long after that, in August, Shelley vanished without a trace. Shelley's last words to Candace were, "Don't ever say goodbye." Shelley was known for her adventurous spirit and love of travel, and had spoken of taking a trip to the Yukon. Over the next several months, calls and texts to Shelley went unreturned. Concern greatly increased in November when Shelley's phone was disconnected. Shelley was finally reported as missing, and a clue came in the form of a witness that reported that a man was seen taking suitcases from Shelley's apartment around the time she went missing. However, by the end of 2014, police had exhausted all leads. Number 2. Things are going to get better. Olivia Metal didn't have much, but she had her 2 children, Enrique and Delfina. The single mother worked hard to support them, and things were going good until Olivia lost her job. After this, the family had to move from Kansas City, Missouri, back to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where the children had originally been born. Though it wasn't easy at first, Olivia found work in Albuquerque. Enrique, however, began to fall in with the wrong crowd. It started when Enrique, then 13, began to hang out with a teenager named Andy, who was around 6 years older. Olivia had a bad feeling about Andy, but now that she was working again, she couldn't keep an eye on her son at all times. Sometimes Enrique would disappear in the middle of the night. Eventually, he was expelled from school for having a gun. Olivia believes the firearm was Andy's idea. On March 16, 2011, Enrique, now 14, spoke to his mother. He said, "Mom, I know you're going through a hard time, but things are going to get better." Olivia never saw her son again. Enrique's uncle spotted him that night outside an Allsups. The uncle told Enrique to go home, but the latter said he was going to stay with some friends. He stopped answering his phone later that night, and has been missing ever since. Olivia felt that the police didn't take her seriously when she reported her son missing, taking Enrique for a runaway. Ultimately, investigators did question Andy several times. The shady youngster gave inconsistent answers and was also found to be in possession of some of Enrique's belongings. So far, however, no arrests have been made, and the case seems to have gone cold. If you have any information of any of these cases, please contact your local police station, and the authorities will hopefully get you in touch with the right people. But anyways, I've been Just Plain Creepy, and I'll catch you in the next video.